All right, we are back. It is Wednesday. It is a woo-woo wild topic of night. We're gonna go from structured water to ancient relics with Hans Dietrich, Julia Kamman, and Mike with alien carvings back with more to show us. Oh, Julia, you're mute.
Happy to be here.
G'day. Thanks for having
How's
us
it
back
going?
on.
Good. Do we have an echo? Is the echo back? I'm not sure.
It might
Testing.
be.
Let us know in the chat if we sound good or not. But yeah, having some issues. The Google StreamYard, I guess, decided to lock me out of my main email account with them. So it's like I'm running off a backup, and it's just giant pain in the butt. Then we got Mike now with the iPad and the iPhone, and can't quite figure out. Oh, it sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. I guess the AI is fixing it. So do you want to maybe start it off a little bit, Hans and Julia, with what we were discussing beforehand?
Julia, you wanna?
Yeah. You want to start with the?
I was going to start with structured water, and so let's just admit it: we're all water, and everything we do is water. We're surrounded by water 70% of our day. 70% of the earth is water. We essentially are water, and how do we get our water? Well, through a piping system that's squared, which is unnatural. And so by the time the water reaches our faucet, it's dead and it's filled full of crazy chemicals and whatnot.
Right? Not just dead, but also polluted on top of it.
Polluted and dead. And it's interesting because if you look at natural water structures, rivers, break and weave and do their thing. And this is how structured water in nature presents itself. And so it's always vortexing. It's always having a vortex energy applied to it. Wow, this is some amazing footage.
As we're right, everything Mike's showing, I can't help but relate some of it with the DNA carvings and different stuff that the ancients used to do with these different technologies and how they charged their water, and the idea of this holy water, of like the fountain of youth, the church waters, everything, that there's this lost technology.
Correct. Yeah, no. And that's interesting you bring up church waters, because I've always looked at the gifts that were brought to the to the child were three gifts: gold, myrrh, and frankincense, right? So these are the three gifts. Well, what is myrrh? Myrrh and frankincense are very similar in smell, look, and feel. They're both pitches from different trees. And so why would you give two items of a fragrance and gold? Well, I think the myrrh is actually water, where myrrh comes from, right? This is a water word. This is a water element.
But myrrh is also like an ancient pain reliever. Like it accesses your pain receptors in your mind.
Well, myrrh is
thick resin.
Correct. Yeah,
It's thick resin. I would think that the water is so much thinner.
We're already jumping into the plant medicine. Yay! No, but you're totally correct there. Myrrh is very interesting, but I think that the myrrh, that's recited is the holy water, right? And so this is water, and so what kind of water is it? Well, structured water is primarily the way that we would look at this, and in today's world, we don't really have a lot of access to structured water.
Well, because it makes it hexagonal shape, and that shape of that hexagonal shape is key to our cells and our health. And that's what I found. Like I always talk about the cerebral spinal fluid and the heart, the fact that it spins that way And the fact that you turn living structured water and applying that to our own divine technology, and how imperative structuring things inside of and things that we put in our body, structuring it like that. I think it equals a thriving system.
Very true. No. Wow. But here we live, in a world where we don't really have good access to structured water or even filtered water. Where I live here in the Pacific Northwest, we're blessed with the Bull Run Reservoir that comes from Mount Hood into Portland. But recently they've changed this, and they've changed its flow completely. They've added new reservoirs because they want to start adding chemicals to the system versus this natural rock formation that brings the water out of the mountain structure to us. And it's really interesting that this is going down, because the original water system was so much better. Sadly, we all have these right angle tubes that come into our houses, which are totally against the natural law of water. Water goes through a flowy system. And so why can't we do this? I worked with Home Builder Association for a couple of years doing design services, because I do graphic design and multimedia. And even in the Home Builders Association, you can't build a house that has even like diagonal down shafting of water, which would allow water to flow naturally out of the house into the ground system, or flow into a cistern or whatever you're using. We can't do this in the United States. In Europe, they do this. Why can't we do it here? Everything has to be.
It seems like a lot of these mounds and pyramids and these ancient structures have to do with the water beneath it.
All of them. They're all next to water structures. Thank you. That's actually a very good point.
And even the star forts.
Well,
right. Intricate part of how they're built. And it's like, as we look at some of these artifacts that Mike's showing,
wow,
can't wonder if it ties into some of it. Do you have the
and this is interesting because some of this stuff has ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics on it, and so in ancient Egypt they understood structured water. They understood the beauty of water. Water had two names. In the Suf language it was Maya, which we discussed on a previous show, that across the water or across Maya, all of a sudden, here we have these Mayans showing up in ancient Kam or ancient Egypt. Okay, but the other word for water is Azkat. And so you always see in some of these temples, you see often, better word, in these temples, it's a foot with three wavy lines under it. And this is called Azgat Nefer, which is the harmony of water. And so harmonic water is structured water.
Did you guys? Oh, I posted this. Terry Carter had a great video that he posted the other day, and it was about how this rock was found in Idaho, and it had Tutankhamun's high priest signature on one side, and then his cartouche on the other side of the rock. I thought that was really interesting.
That would be interesting to look into. It was Zachariah Sitchin who kind of debunked the vice find in the upper relieving chambers. Is that a bathroom? Above the king's chamber, where they found the Khufu hieroglyph, and it, as Sitchin says, it's spelled wrong.
Really?
So, yeah. And recently this has come out again, and so it's like, yeah, there's no way to tie the pyramid. It was graffitied in there. Weiss faked it. He wanted to bring it into a time frame that we all are familiar with, but as we're looking here at some of these artifacts, this could be much older than any time frame that we really know of. Or how old do we know? Did Scott Balter get back to you on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten carbon dates, between 10 and 15,000 years, fairly common. He actually had a pipe resin that tested it like 8,600 years. So There's definitely
we
that's
were
on the
going over these
adhesives and the resins.
pre-show. This is amazing stuff. My God, interesting.
It really is. The star chart stuff.
That's what you're talking about, the back wall. I've seen this one before. Klaus Donna has one very similar to that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So is this fused and then engraved afterward, or what is the?
Yeah, exactly. It's put together here. Let me show this in the light. It's even got carvings on the inside, but it's a full mosaic piece of craftsmanship, just perfectly made for what it is, you know.
Wow.
And then to carve on top of something like that, if you mess up, you're ruining your whole fuse, you know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Plus, there's that glass eye inlay and the other one. That's wow. Interesting.
Yeah, and some of them are absolutely massive, like this one here.
How did you acquire these, out of curiosity?
Well, you know, a good friend of mine met up with Mark Russell and those guys down there at the Tucson Gem Show, and bought a couple pieces down there. And my friend came back and tried telling me they were 10,000 plus years old, and I just kind of laughed at him, you know. And I was really skeptical. Obviously, I figured it would be all over TV if there was even a chance of something like this being real, and so I started to research it to prove him wrong. And you know, I dug and dug and dug, and now we're sitting here 3 years later, and I've got substantial proof that there are pieces depicting this story that are real. We know there's fakes as well, but we know for sure at this point that there are the pieces coming out of the ground. We've got an entire temple tomb complex that's been found at the 14-foot dig level. It's about 1,500 meters from the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl in Tula, Hidalgo. And the angels and the aliens and the orbs are littered all over the walls, like massive carvings into the ancient bedrock. It's absolutely ridiculous. So to me, that was the real nail in the coffin, that I started to really believe this stuff. I mean, you can have all the lab tests in the world, but it doesn't really show the writing on the walls. You know what I mean? And seeing it that way was just kind of a shocker. Now I definitely am a believer, and it's just a matter of you know, that needs more research.
Did you make it to that show in Vegas?
Yeah, we just got back here actually, and
how was it?
It was amazing. Scott Wolter, JJ Hertzog, and Desiree were down there, and Bashar and David Childress. I talked with David Childress for quite some time, and you know, he said the same thing. He was real skeptical, didn't really think any of this stuff was real, but you know, after looking at it more and seeing what the people in Tula brought to this show in Vegas, I mean, they brought, if you look at our feed on TikTok or something, I posted a bunch of videos, but they brought, I mean, large statues of this caliber to this show and presented them to people in Vegas, as well as a documentary of that cave I was just talking about being discovered from the beginning to what they found inside, which was, you know, remnants of Anunnaki and Egyptian culture stuff that just blows our minds every time we see it. And it just keeps getting deeper and more complex the more pieces that come out of the ground. And it's just wild. Some of them depict here, I'll show you, like portals and things. A lot of talk about portals with these reaching in, and you know, there's fish. They have like fish fins. A lot of depictions of Anki and Enlil and Osiris type things. You know, like this piece here.
How is Enki portrayed? What does he look like with those
I can show you here on this piece. This would be Enki here as the right hand of Anu, because he's the water god, and then Enlil would be over here. He's also depicted in an angelic form, as well as in the fish suit, and possibly in other, you know, depictions, depending if that's actually who it is or not. We think it's
like very a fish plausible. Head? Like the fish head?
Yeah, or it has the turban. You know, you can see the Enki's depicted with a turban in almost every depiction, and or the fish suit. So, and that's why the Pope uses the fish head is why also we have the Jesus fish, is likely because Enki was the angelic version before the flesh. But I believe this is Enki and Enlil here.
With Kefir, the scarab. Interesting.
And what's interesting is they have the wings here on this side. They're holding a ring. I don't have the ring in the piece right now.
What are the
very
the
valuable
balls inside of that? Sorry.
They're pyrite.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Like iron pyrite. Solid.
Yep.
Yep.
No, I'm with you.
That's
it's
an
something else.
interesting tribute. Very interesting. The pine cone, right? The pineal. Yep. Interesting.
Well, we so desperately
handbag.
need to get to a lab to start testing some of this material, right? Because like you're trying to, and they all refuse.
I actually met with a gentleman that worked for Nassim Harriman. Him and his
he's
partner
got a lot of
presenting.
Claustana stuff. Yep.
Yeah. Klaus and Nassim have gone really deep into this, but people have tried to steal their research or, detour their research in many ways. And so they've gone really private about things. They don't really talk about it publicly too much anymore. And it's just something that's being researched. And, but nonetheless, these guys gave me, a couple labs that would do stuff for private entities, because right now, even with Scott, even with PhD level requests, we're not getting the ability to do tests, especially on these bone skulls that I was just showing. These things are really bizarre. They're all different. We've got about 12 or 13 different, and they're, very different. As you can see, some have little horn things coming off, some don't. Some are very more dainty. Some are really, really narrow, but it's strange. If they were cutting down a cow skull or something, it would be quite heavy. Still, this is very light, and also it would be, consistently similar. It wouldn't be such a drastic change in the look.
Right.
That's not consistent with anything. So, and also the structure of the bone, the density and the strength of it is extremely strong, especially for how light it is. So it's very, very strange. Hopefully we'll get DNA in the next, soon.
That's amazing.
This tablet here is really special because it depicts something kind of crazy, reptilian.
Reptilian humanoid, as
the other
well
one
as
looks like a bird, like reptilian in the center.
Yeah. All
Very
these
strange.
Then up above to the left is like a more fairy creature.
Yeah.
The elongated skulls, winged, entities. This is just.
We got a little Star David here too, and count those spheres around it. It's like the geometry and some of the things that they depict. Metatron's cube and flower of life. Here, I'll show you. It's pretty wild. The historical and cultural relevance, as well as the way, like, these star maps here are called astrolabes, and we have many different snapshots of the sky, accompanied by, it seems like a fair amount of data, if I could translate it, of course. But it's not just some chicken scratch, it's definitely got some sort of deeper meaning, it seems like, This tablet here came with one that was full of data too. A lot of depictions of Saturn, or a planet that has a ring like Saturn.
We have a ring now of Saturn lights.
Satellites, yeah, no kidding. This is an interesting piece. It's got the eagle and the snake.
So what? How long have you been collecting this? Just
about 3 years. Yeah.
Wow, it's quite a collection for 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a real passion because, you know, growing up, I really wasn't much into religion, but yet I knew I had a spiritual connection. So, you know, when I started to see this, I kind of was just really hesitant and skeptical and resistant with it because it just, you know, like I said earlier, you would think to have heard it on the news or some sort of someone being skeptical about something here. So I jumped in, you know, face first to try to prove it false. And now I'm just sitting here with my foot in my mouth, kind of wondering what the heck happened. And, you know, I just got back from Vegas where there was a gathering of over 20 of us collectors and researchers. And I mean, we really made a stance. You know, there was multiple booths and multiple presenters all about these topics in this down in Las Vegas at the Disclosure Festival.
Stairway to the Stars.
Yep, exactly.
The Luxor, right on, awesome. I was supposed to go down there, but I didn't.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, no, it was a great event. I was very happy with it.
My friend Johnny Enoch and Sarah
I got to meet him,
and a bunch of people I know. Yeah, they're all there.
I gave Johnny one of our envelopes. I went around and just shared pictures and just tried to show people what the heck we're seeing here because it's, you know.
Most of them are from
Tula,
Tula, Mexico. Is that correct, Mike?
These here that I'm showing right now are from Abuelos de Jalisco, and then the other pieces, like the large, you know, stone pieces over there, are all from Tula Hidalgo, right by the. So there's about 3 places in Tula. There's a hillside that they find them. There's a sacred hill that starts with an X, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but it's where the gateway of hell is, or the underworld, and for the Toltecs, and then there's also a farmer that has land. It's about 1,500 feet from the pyramid, and there's a stone fence that goes around the sacred site there, and he's right on the other side of the fence, his potato farm. And so when he would till his fields, he would find these pieces and turn them into the INAA because he didn't want to lose his land. And he turned them in, and they kept telling him that he was making them and that he needed to stop doing this and blah, blah, blah. He got very frustrated. Now he's in his very, very old age, and he gave Gen 6 Productions, as well as a couple other gentlemen, the right to dig and do GPR, ground radar, and see what was really under there. He didn't want to go and not know. And so now they know, and and it's insane. Like I said, we have a full video on our feed that shows the writing on the walls, all these beings in these tentacle-faced things, you know, and that you can see this tentacle face here on this depiction. There's also these others like this, and then you look down here on something here, and you can see that this one has it braided. This one has some sort of like clothing or garment to cover his tentacles, likely. But we're seeing that, and so you look at these skulls and wonder, are these the tentacle skulls or the beings that are being depicted here?
Well, because it would house that structure, right? And so it would hold it.
I mean, this is what's carved on the skull. You know what I mean? You can see all these extra holes here that a cow doesn't have. And it's interesting because the bone experts that we've had look at these things, they say that it's closely related in terms of structural makeup and how the cranium is to a cow. But there's a lot of differences that don't really, they don't fit in at all with a cow, you know? So it's really strange to think that we have UFO cattle mutilations all the time. And
just thinking about it. To the legitimate ones, 100%. Like, that would be why, because they're reported like literally for like the last 50, 100 years, if not thousands of years, these animal mutilations by them, but specifically cows for, well, since at least Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at that, how they carved the sign.
Even in the Hindu culture, it's like, you know, leave your sacrifice at the edge of the cave so the gods can eat it. Kind of scenario.
Well, that's this whole human sacrifice thing to the gods really brings a whole new thought of, you know, maybe these gods actually were physical entities on this planet at the time when this initial sacrifice started to occur, because we found a lot of depictions of it on these pieces. We found the daggers for it. We found boxes dedicated to it with the daggers inside. It's nuts.
So wonder what their idea of structured water and
yeah, and here I'll kill the lights.
A lot of them are using plant medicines. Plant medicines are kind of an interesting aspect in all these ancient cultures.
It's like, where did they get all this knowledge?
The question is why? Where did that plant medicine is a technology? Where did that come from or go to? Right? Wow, exactly. But how would you know to do this if you didn't have
10,000 years ago, right? Well, here's my theory. You know, these are winged beings that look similar to angels, or what we've been told angels look like. And so if they really did have a halo as we depict them today, then it's very possible that halo has a UV spectrum inside of it. And if that's the case, then that's how these pieces lit up.
It could have been a life-saving device. I mean, any species coming to a new planet is going to have issues with the atmosphere and the biology on this planet, because it's not native to their own.
look at the implants on the Nazca mummies. I mean, they have these, it looks like, to secure or structure their shoulders and hips for strengthening, you know.
How are you charging these up? What is your light source?
It's a UV beast, just a 365 nanometer UV beast. I've got a 385 here too, and they cause different reactions.
Wow, damn!
Right, and the blue, the red, and the green, like the
I saw that in the last two pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of phosphorescence.
They all have this hollow-escent feature to them. Interesting.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of time. And what's really crazy is before, like, I bought 250 of these pieces, and they never advertised it that this happened or anything. My wife had a light on her table that she uses for her glass blowing, and she uses a uranium type glass. And all of a sudden, one day we saw there was this pine cone right here. You can see how it's laying on the table. But when we shut it off, we could see the corner of it like that. And sure enough, you know, we started noticing that almost every one of these things had glow. You can see this thing, the entire thing is made of calcite that goes from red to green. But it's I mean, to find all these specimens that had these different effects and different things, I mean, it would take quite a bit of effort, I would think.
And what's the source of the phosphorescence? Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
And that you said there was a couple artifacts that were found like in a water basin, like creek bed, and that their glow was exponentially weakened, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you can see here on this cup itself here was found in the river, and it just doesn't have a very strong glow. It's real hit and miss where it's at on the pine cone still.
Wash over, bury, yeah, sure.
This is the same thing. You can see when I hit this, I mean, it barely is there, but it was, you know, up close when you can see it was everywhere at one point. So, yeah. And like this big tablet here, the entire thing glows.
Just mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
It looks like the art, like those ones with the elongated skulls with like the angel wings and the halos and stuff on them. Those specific artifact ones, they also have a lot of the hieroglyphs on them and stuff. Seem the most identical, like as if the exact same artist or artisans as the ones that Nassim Haramein and Klaus Donna.
This is similar to the sphere where it has a removable piece. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all carrying, you know, handbags and passing the pine cone. similar to the Anunnaki. We found the Shamash logo, or whatever you want to call it there, the symbology for Shamash. We found obviously tons of the all-seeing eye. It's on, I mean, everything with the pyramid, just like our money, you know. This is close to the Shamash here. That's kind of what I was talking about. What's interesting is you see this logo, you know, it was like the Bank of Iraq or Bank of Iran. One of the two has this as their logo with Shamash standing at the top, you know, the bearded fellow that looks almost like he's an Anunnaki. And it's really interesting to see this sphere with this in there all the time, because we think that it represents like their way of travel. The angels traveled in a sphere, and these orbs that you see around in these videos oftentimes might actually be these beings in their, you know, orb form, because that's what the pieces are showing essentially. I can show examples of the orb.
Open up the sphere again. Sorry. Yeah.
The sphere. Oh yeah. Hang on, let me get over there.
We're in that off show, so yeah.
Yeah, this piece is actually really, really valuable because, you know, you can see it's been, the pieces have been broken off, and the glue that was holding them on has been sampled by Scott Wolter.
Oh, that's a piece on the outside. Oh, I get you. All right.
Yeah. Just so now I use it to show on, you know, videos like this of how they're doing this. And so they're taking a piece of ceramic.
Okay, so that's the pieces Scott Wolter took.
Yeah, I shipped this to him, and he took samples off and got everything done for his lab. And he runs a lab, so he did quite a bit of testing already. And then, you know, you can see on the inside, it's got a lot of manganese.
How many tethers are in that? 12, 13?
Tethers? What do you mean, like?
There's all the pie
segments.
Pieces in the lid on the bottom.
Oh gosh, I would say there's hundreds total between
flip
the
it over.
the top
The
and
other
the bottom.
Other side.
There you go. There's an inscription.
How many of these pieces are there?
Pie pieces. The pie
I see what you're
pieces,
saying.
essentially.
Hang on, let me pull it up here. You can.
There we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like 13.
12.
Interesting.
13? You're getting 13.
Well, the Mayans always use a 13-month calendar. So
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
correct. That is 13.
Super important. Now what's crazy is you look at the one going around the outside, and now is that going to be the month or the, you know,
right? Like it's not a star calendar or some sort of aspect.
And we found a lot of cultural consistencies with that sort of math and numbers, and, you know, 7-pointed stars and the Star of Ishtar. Star of Ishtar here is on everything almost. It's in the Abuelos pieces more so. You know, the two snakes coming out of the orb.
I hear
Very
Ishtar.
common.
I'm like, what? What did somebody just say? Ishtar, I appear.
You're saying the
What?
7-pointed star, so that's also Aleister Crowley's star.
Wait, you said
of
7-pointed?
So that's interesting.
Well, not the no. Ishtar's not 7-pointed, but this is the Star of Ishtar here, and then the 7-pointed star would be down here.
You're saying
okay, I was gonna
star.
say
Yeah,
8.
sorry.
It's 8.
Yeah, I'll
Wait a
show it here
second.
real quick. Let me
That's
turn
not
this thing
correct,
around. Oops,
but
sorry.
it could be.
Sorry. Oh,
I almost got it tattooed on me.
There it is.
Ooh, wow, what? Yeah, you didn't show us.
Hey, little buddy.
Wow.
It's on his forehead.
Hi.
Yeah, no,
This was the blast
really crazy
point.
piece.
Dude, that was so interesting. Is the ranch? What was it? Stardust Ranch.
Zoom,
and
it's
it's
like
on the
zoom out a
same.
little and show the whole body of that thing.
On Stardust Ranch, it's on the same alignment as Skinwalker Ranch, and they found like this. He would always have interdimensional beings like Greys and stuff come to his ranch. It actually his place and his stories actually fascinated me more than Skinwalker Ranch. But one of the things that dropped when he saw one of these beings was this rock, and it had this carving that was like a star, but it was carved into the rock. They had it tested, but that's very interesting because that's like maybe that can be used for some type of interdimensional travel. You know?
Yeah. I keep an open mind at this point. That's the best answer, I feel, because this stuff has blown my mind on the daily. So I just keep learning and trying to understand it because it's a deep story.
You're like, yeah, just when I figure this out. Like I'll just figure out these symbols mean like the tablet I'm working on. Like, oh yeah, this will be a few months. You know, like I just thought it would be just a few months. Like, oh, this will be a 6-week project. It's like, are you kidding
this
me?
is the symbol of the angels right here. The sphere within a sphere with the 2 wings on the outside. And you know, you look at other people who have used this symbol in the past, and like what?
Beetle on top.
Yeah, exactly.
The scarab is Kefir, and interestingly, the Ankh is the key of life. So the key of life is the sacred womb. So the teardrop shop, the teardrop shape is basically the womb. Then you have the 2 triangles going out to the ovaries and the vaginal canal at the bottom. And it's interesting that you flash forward to today with this symbol, and the symbol of the female is the circle on the cross, which is almost exactly the same circle.
I feel like we're all kind of living the life of a dung beetle. You know, we're taking our own shit. We're trying to propel it forward. You know, we're just trying to take all of the crap we're given and, you know, have it propel us forward and move onwards and upwards, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how many pieces do you have in your collection, just out of curiosity?
I have about 650 pieces right now of substantial merit. Between our network of the people like that just met down there in Las Vegas, I would say we have over 10,000 pieces.
Oh, that's the backside of that one. Wow, interesting.
Wait, so is this like a source for you? Or you guys teamed up?
And so
the Tula
the backside of that is also glowing. Yeah, interesting.
You know, we were all kind of like against each other when we first started, just because we thought, you know, everybody had a different opinion about what this was and what we were seeing, and so we had differences of opinion, but the unification that occurred was that none of us were powerful enough to bring this truth to the light by ourselves. And the only way we were going to get any traction was to work together and to create a network of people who believe that this stuff is legitimate and want to investigate the history more.
That's kind of the Age of Aquarius vibe of like, it's an individuated consciousness, right? An individuated consciousness. So it's like, as a collective, we rise, but we're kind of doing it individual, but we come together as well. And that's what I love to see, you know, like channels coming together and unifying and collaborating and putting their egos aside, really. Like, hey man, I'm gonna help you, you help me. I love that, especially in the relic world.
Nice pipe, brah.
Right?
Just
like,
isn't that cool? You can put it on your finger and take a little sneak a toe.
It's your ring.
Oh, it is a pipe too.
Man.
Wow. Yeah, it's a
It
pipe
is a
ring.
pipe. No,
like
totally.
a bloody
That's
knuckles,
what I'm saying.
too.
Nice pipe, brah.
Brass knuckles. That is many uses. That's a pretty handy dandy.
Is it a whistle
right there?
too?
Yeah, this is a whistle here. The reed is right here on the thumb, and then there's another hole right there, and then I'll plug them here.
Do you mind playing a couple?
I'll play it.
Wow.
No, of course. I don't know if you could hear that or not because I have headphones on, but that's the whistle.
That was amazing. Interesting.
Yeah, those one aren't as musical. Some of them sound like birds, and literally.
Ooh, I want to hear the bird one.
There's this that's like a skull that's a whistle as well, and it sounds really great.
Sounds like an owl.
Right? Yeah, no, it definitely has.
You never thought they'd use your skull as a whistle.
Let alone out of stone to make it.
Whoa, what's that? What is that? What is that he's holding, Hans? Hans, what is that? Bernie.
Oh, see, and this is a common thing. Like I have full size members, literally that are giant. There's a lot of depictions, you know, like this gentleman here who's here, let me turn the light on so you can see him. But you can see his Definitely proud of
Warning,
himself.
18 over.
It's art. It's okay.
Phallus worship, right?
It's
I
art.
mean, were
It's
they
art.
wrong,
Right,
ladies?
but
Were they
that's
wrong?
right there. One more aspect that leads to like looking like authentic is the fact of like the ancients all being obsessed with the phallic
Dude,
like
I get it.
carvings and
Yeah, like the
representations.
Karahan Tepe. Karahan
That's why I was
Tepe. I
saying
mean,
inside of the sphere is like the
And we see
Shiva
it a
lingam,
lot.
and so
Here, let me grab this
interesting. It's
ring really
removable,
quick.
but in
Turn this
Hindu
light on.
culture, the Shiva lingam is huge. Yep.
So this
Yes.
obelisk here is really crazy. It's gold leafed, and we've tested a lot of this gold leaf with XRF. And what's really interesting is none of it's a consistent alloy. We get 11 karat, 9 karat, 10 karat. Some of it has silver, some of it has rhodium, some of it has crazy elements that I haven't seen, really in anything. Radium. The rhodium itself is worth so much that it's crazy that they don't refine that out of there if it's modern, because it's worth more than gold. This ring here has a beautiful blue carnelian.
What is that carved on it? Oh, scarab.
Yeah, it's a scarab.
Interessante.
The size of it too, hey? Pretty big band.
It's not super big. It actually it almost fits me. So yeah, and it glows too. There's inlay and all the carving on the ring with it as well.
Oh, really? I was just about to be like, see, now something like that I could suspect possibly being like faked by them, like thrown in as extra, but then you're like, no, it also has the crazy inlay and the glow and all of it.
Yeah, and then let alone too, it's tucked in this crazy thing that it fits just perfect in and allows this obelisk to sit. And it's a part of an entire complex.
I didn't even see that. Right, like these, it's just so.
And these are part of the one stone. Like, look, this is a one-piece object here. This was carved out of a single block. These guys.
Okay, wow. So then that's the same stone that ring is made out of, and most likely was also.
Well, no,
within
the ring, but the box for the ring is all one piece. And then there's this guy here, which is really interesting. He's the eye of Ra. He's got the eye for a head, but I've never seen this deity in Egypt before.
Very good point.
But I've seen it on a few of these pieces, so it's interesting for sure.
And like, so
I'll show you
what look like board games there. Can you go back to that, or show what you're going to show first? But then please go back to what looked like almost Chinese checkerboard there, or whatever that thing was. Like, got to take a look at some of these games, because that alone could prove to be the forebearers of things like chess and checkers and whatnot. Like, what? Look at that.
Yeah, this is the guy here.
Very similar to Crespi collection right there.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Here, let me go back to that game board here. And then this boat too, the barge that they're always talking about in Egypt is on these, and like the handle here where it's held actually has like finger marks in it that you can feel like that it was actually held for maybe long periods of time. Yeah, this game is pretty. I have no idea even where to begin. And they're beautiful pieces, just massive detail in each one. They're all very unique, and they all glow.
Ooh, look at that one right there. Oh, is that a phallus worship piece?
Yeah, maybe.
I
think it's the beard.
That one almost looked like.
I don't think I'll ever grow up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're gotta always have a child in you. Fun of the innocent fun of youth, and well, yeah. just mind blown. Each piece.
A lot of detail on each piece. There's nothing that copies. There's nothing that's repetitive. Everything is original as original on everything. It's absolutely crazy. Like, and then they cover every piece with just such extensive detail, and it doesn't seem like it's it's never duplicated in terms of like repetitious language. We see the water symbol a lot and these little half moons, similar things in Egypt, but as far as the depictions of the deities and the planets and everything it's all very original. Pieces like this, you can see each one of those is a piece of stone put on there, carved.
Wow.
It's a lot of work, regardless,
The insane amount.
And is that Jupiter because of the lines? Like, who knows, Are they creating the planets right here? Is this how the beginning occurred? I mean, who knows?
Hold that back up again. That looks like he's got like a what do you call it? A projector thing showing the planet out, like it's like a hologram machine or something in his hand, projecting it up or something like.
And then what the heck, some of these symbologies like this symbol here, it's very detailed. It's not something
that you see it in Inca and Mayan stuff all over down there too, right?
More nudity.
Oh dear. But like,
you can see it was an ancient repair.
Yeah.
This red glue.
See, that is prime for taking a little sampling out for testing.
Yeah, and here's the thing, this red glue to fix it like this. I've gotten pieces from the guys down there, and they fix it with super glue. I've gotten pieces that were super glued together. They broke it packaging it or whatever, but nonetheless, it's when you see that red glue like that, it's different. I mean, it's a primitive glue for sure. That's where all the carbon dates come from that are old. I always tell people, if they're like, well, how do I know if it's real or not? I say, in a way, those pieces, I look for that red glue. That's what you want to see to be confident, in my opinion. Because I don't know if I haven't found any evidence that they're faking that red glue yet. I mean, it could be, but I haven't found any evidence of that yet. Every piece that's been tested of that was good. There have been pieces like, I'll show you an example. For instance, see how these inlays are put on here, and it doesn't have red glue.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah. That does not mean it's fake, but it means it could be fake, right? Because they could have super glue under there. We don't know.
Credence. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it's at. But then you'll find pieces with the red glue all over, and that's why I say it doesn't mean it's fake, because then we have the same inlays here without the red glue, right? So,
very true.
Some of these little inlays that they put on here are gems that, for instance, even like these blue ones here on this piece, I'm not exactly sure what they are. I've asked quite a few people, and I mean, it's not for sure. A lot of people think it might be glass, and it could be. We've actually found traces of glass on these pieces that we believe to be legitimate. So we know that they had the capability of making glass at this time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if all of this stuff is made 10,000 years ago, it's like, of course, they had to have very advanced capabilities of all sorts of manufacture. And
so this is a whistle here, and you can see, if you look at his eyes really carefully, they have holes in there for the sound. You can play the eyes
Like the
blowing
acoustic
through.
engineering in that.
Yeah, and it crests through. That's where it blows through this little area, and when you hit it just right, it'll literally hurt your ears. I mean, it is ear-piercing loud. I won't blow on that one because my kid's sleeping upstairs, but some of these things like the
Was that a
these
scorpion
pseudomechanics.
guy or something? Like a scorpion humanoid?
Yeah, it's the Rock's like inspiration. It's interesting because he's got the turban. So was it a form that Anki took? Very possible. Anki had many names and took many forms. So just like Thoth and or Thoth, however you want to say it. But
Right,
they're known to be different. You know, they can possess different forms and things. That's why people believe that, you know, the Yellow Emperor, Quetzalcoatl, these type of things may be related. You know, Viracocha, etc. This is another whistle here that shows, I believe, the serpent and the duck conjoining together to create Quetzalcoatl or something of that nature. I think there's a lore in that. I'm not an expert on, you know, I guess it would be Mayan or I'm not sure, but I'm not an expert on that story. That was just what I was told.
Hans kind of is, I believe. Or
What story? Sorry.
Of like a duck and the serpent coming together to create the feathered serpent. It was a duck and the serpent that created it or something.
The creation myth of
well, we see kind of this serpent bird in many cultures. We know it in the West as the wyvern, right? So there's a dragon, but there's also the wyvern. And the wyvern is more of like a serpent bird than a dragon. So interesting.
Oh, and then Mike, do you mind also bringing up the what looks like an Asian the jade mask? Is Hans has spent a lot of time in it was Mongolia,
This mask?
and I believe so. Yeah,
I grew up in Nepal.
Yeah, I've got a picture.
Nepal.
Of it
Sorry,
here.
my God, my bad. Nepal. Only talked about it 5 full episodes already. A little bit tired today. Right, look at this thing. So that could potentially be trade from. Well, actually, that's looking more Olmeca, so Aztecish, right?
Yeah, it's.
Oh wow, that's
it's
fascinating.
Definitely got the vibes. It's got the language from Abuelos on the top of it here. So it's definitely from Jalisco. And it was found with this other piece here, which is like a duality piece that shows.
Oh, wow.
And this piece of fluorite, when you hit right here with a UV, it leaves this amber looking phosphorescence that's really bizarre. I've never seen it on any other piece before.
Do you mind showing?
What's the rainbow aspect in the stone? There's a few pieces.
Yeah, all of the skulls and these pieces have iridescent, like it almost shows these specimens because of it. I'm not exactly sure what it means. I mean, it could be ancient data in there. Who knows, right? There's some people that believe that these skulls could have been computers.
Carol, we're actually discussing that in depth today in their stream. So
see this right here? You can see this luminescence is ridiculous here. I mean, it's almost got like an opal, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's insane. There we go.
This one also has similar qualities.
Yeah, where did you get that one, Hans? Oh, sorry, is it moving over?
So this is rainbow. It's rainbow quartz.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm not sure how old it is. I've had this for a while, but yeah.
Did you also want to quickly show the Egyptian plates that you had?
For sure. So when you go to the Step Pyramid in Egypt, around the base of it is piles and piles of this broken, shattered. It's not pottery because it's not baked or anything, but it's cut out of granite and other hard stones. And so I picked up a few of these pieces, and these kind of prove that they had access to a lathe and polishing stones. This is not bashed out by a copper chisel. There's no way. Just so this is a plate about a foot in diameter, not a very shallow plate. I have a couple of these. That came from this site. This one in particular shows the carving stone aspect. Let me see if I can get the right angle. You can see it.
I think you're gonna have to bring it a little closer to the camera for it to focus on it.
So.
There we go.
We had it showing pre-show.
Yeah, earlier. God damn it. If I bring the light above it, that might work. You see it
Almost. There. Oh, there we go. Yeah, boom. Right there. You can see the full circle of the lathe.
And so this was clearly lathe, but this is, hard stone. And so you would have to use something harder than it to cut it, which usually would have been diamond back in the old days. But there's no diamond in North Africa. So where was this coming from? And then how would they know how to use this to cut some of these pieces? As I was saying on a previous show, there are pieces, vases, water vases. Here we get back to the water aspect. Osgat. There are water vases in the Nubian Museum that are from 14,000 years ago. Carbon dated, found in a grave site that dates to that time period.
Wow.
And they're made out of corundum. Well, corundum is ruby, and ruby and diamond are both 8, 9 on the Mohs scale of hardness. So how are you cutting ruby into this perfect vase, with, the outside, it's like the same thickness all the way through. So how are they doing this?
It's the same with the Durite statues.
Somehow they had the ability to drill into it and hollow it out.
There's those coffins too at Saqqara that they found that are completely flat-bottomed granite boxes. Then they got 90 degrees at the bottom of.
Oh, you're talking about the Serapium. They're black. They're diorite. Or not? Yeah,
diorite.
I think they're diorite.
Which is super hard too.
Oh, it's incredibly hard, and they were all put into situ, 5 feet below the ground level.
Yep.
And they're all north, south, east, west facing, and they were all cut in situ. And so the bottom of the box is the top, the lid. And the two that you can actually go into, there's only 2, the rest have been closed up forever. It's perfect inside. And so the question is, what were these for? There's 24 of them that we know of, but there's other tunnels that they've now found at this site in Saqqara, the Serapium. Anyway, it's beyond fascinating. How do you cut these tunnels out without getting, miner's lung? You have no way to vent the air out. So how are you cutting into solid limestone bedrock, right? So there's that aspect of it. And then how are you lowering and perfectly aligning these several 100-ton black basalt diorite boxes
underground
in pitch darkness because there's no evidence that a torch was ever lit down there.
Yeah. They had to have a way of getting light down there, probably through that jet.
Well, this is interesting. You're showing us this phosphorescence. So did they have phosphorescent sources? Has anybody tested phosphorescence in these spots? Of course not.
I've asked that to, exactly. I've asked this to, I wrote to David Schock, trying to see if he had ever tested anything with a UV down there.
Oh, Robert Schock.
I couldn't get, or Robert Schock. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Couldn't get an answer, but that's definitely something. As soon as I saw this, was curious. I mean, there's got to be something down there.
This is also the fascination of the Great Pyramid. So, Mickey Hart, the drummer for the Grateful Dead, recorded their 24 hours. They spent a night in the King's Chamber back when you could do that. And he recorded everything that went on. And they had some crazy experiences that none of them ever wanted to talk about. But he has the recordings. Mickey Hart released
the acoustic resonance in there is
oh my God, are you kidding me? What was going on in there? Yeah. I've been in the Great Pyramid twice, and I don't really like the King's Chamber or the Queen's Chamber. I go down to the underground area, and I crawl down the end of the dead end shaft, and I'll sit there and meditate before anybody comes down. I usually get 5 to 10 minutes in complete darkness, in complete yield to the world, and all you hear is your own body vibrating. It's crazy. It's like the most intense experience. But you do this after you sit in the box, obviously, in the the King's Chamber. But this is amazing. Yeah, super fascinating here. So how do we tie this back to water and and stem cell research?
Well,
so, yeah,
it goes back to Anki, the water god,
the creator. Oh, good point right there as well.
Right, bingo. All right. So structured water would have been something that would have housed the ability to rupture the rock and mine the gold.
Yep.
Bingo. Interesting. Because
what is structured water? Well, being depicted on this stuff too.
Sorry, what?
Was it all of the DNA that are depicted on these carvings too? Like, were they structuring our DNA along with through the water? It brings back, or this thought and topic just brings back that one science experiment where they
the phantom DNA experiments. I think we talked about that. Maybe offline we did. I don't think we brought it into a show, but so there were 3 major experiments that were replicated many times, and one of them was taking pieces of flesh from the donator or the experimenter, or the experimentee, sorry, and then they would transfer that to another lab, and then they would perform like shock tests on the experiment, the whatever we want to call them, whoever was being experimented on, and the shock tests would replicate in the piece of flesh at the other lab halfway across the world at the exact same time. Oh, you're getting shock therapy. Oh, you're getting massage therapy. Oh, you're getting heat burning, and it would have the same result at the other location.
Instantaneous.
So this is mom's. All of our mothers are like, my son is in danger. My daughter is in danger. Right? This is mom reacting to, wow, you're a piece of her womb, her flesh, in a sense.
Yeah.
And so I've
always
found that
entangled DNA.
Bingo. Quantum entanglement.
Yep.
Quantum entangled cellular DNA and cellular.
So the second experiment was a quantum entanglement experiment. And so they would see how long it took for a reaction to occur between 2 quantum items. And it was almost instantaneous across the globe. So then they took the experiment into outer space, and they sent like a probe out past our satellite systems, and they did the same experiment. And oh my God, it was instantaneous. And so the question is, do we have an instantaneous connection quantumly through our own DNA or our own quantum aspect to another solar system, another galaxy, another star? And there's quite that possibility. But the third one is the one that most fascinates me. And so they took 2 test tubes. One had seawater in it. The other one was autoclaved, so it was completely neutral, tapped. Both of them were put into a isolation chamber overnight, dark light, no light at all. So basically sensory deprivation chamber of sorts. And a green laser, powerful plasma device, was shined through the seawater into the other test tube. 18 hours they did this experiment, and they came back, and both test tubes had the same life forms and DNA in them. And so the thought was, if we're going through different spectrums of space, right? And there's bacteria and DNA in those spectrums as we're going around our galaxy every 7,200 years. I don't remember the full rotation. We're being tethered behind our sun, or in rotation with our sun as a comet. We're going to go through these spectrums of space. And this is where the Cambrian events and all these events in our history have come up, where it's like, where did all these life forms all of a sudden appear? Boom, out of nowhere. And so this is the random DNA, right? And so if our sun is a plasma generator, just like the green laser, and our Earth is a water-bearing salt planet, and we go through these spectrums of space, do you think life is going to appear on our planet? Good possibility. Obviously, I'm not that kind of a scientist, but I find that a very interesting aspect. Wow, this is also super fascinating. Huh. So
What's on the other side is crazy. Here, I'll show you.
That's the water aspect of the phantom DNA. It's like, obviously water played a key part in the green laser, the plasma, or our sun as a plasma element, making that happen on our planet as we drift through different areas of bacteria and DNA. Can we quantify this? No idea. Can we prove it?
Do you remember the exact name of the experiment?
It's called the phantom DNA experiments. There's actually quite a few of them, actually.
Yeah, the last one specifically, though, because that's like quantum teleportation almost.
Oh, it's huge. It's like how do you have DNA appearing in the other test?
Yeah.
How do you have microscopic life and it wasn't that it was there, it was just there was a shadow replication of it, and so it's very fascinating. There's like I said, there's quite a few of these that have been done over the years. Alien much?
You ever smoked weed out of an alien, man?
Actually,
no, but I can't wait to the day that I meet up with the first said we do.
It's quite the snake for sure.
I'm curious what these people thought about blood themselves.
It's so they're all so precise too in what they're, I guess, representing or portraying, and each character and symbol.
Yeah, they have a lot of thought and individuality, and I mean, it's not just some mass production, real quick, stuff that you see out of like a Hong Sheng stuff or Hong Sheng stuff out of China. It's a lot of it. I'm sure is obviously reproduction, probably, but you can see it. The holes that are drilled and the different things, and it just lacks character. This stuff all has. I mean, like this thumbprint right here is serious detail.
Yeah. No,
a skilled master had to create that. Someone that practiced the heck out of that. Just the thumbprint alone, let alone all these other figures,
Fascinating. Wow. I was going to show my ancient drill.
See this forked thing at the bottom of these staffs oftentimes. And I've seen it in Egypt, the bent neck staffs, and we've actually found a couple of them. Oops, gosh, almost broke something here.
Don't say
We
that.
found this. No, it's so scary moving around.
It's not
here.
a live show if something doesn't get broken, right?
There we go.
We're Greek. We break things.
You can see this piece has the fork on it. And it goes inside this little pizza slice here. A lot of alchemical and Greek type symbols, Omega, Delta,
So
Mercury.
many.
Got the Pharaoh symbols here.
The water, the two waves up there, like there's a lot of alchemy knowledge in there. Yeah, like the
a lot of birds.
Like the wave ones and those specific ones, they like predate alchemy. They're like part of this ancient global
proto-alchemy.
But it's like the original language, this petroglyph language where they've identified, I forget how many of these symbols, but they find them all over. And the wave ones are one of the main ones. I think I've seen about 4, probably 6 or 7 now on them that you have that are showing them. Like Rex's Leak project knows a lot more about it. It's gone in depth in studying them. Really, your new project, Mr. Mike, that is probably going to take God knows how much time, but you need to enter all of this data into a new AI GPT set for it to like model the language out of the symbols.
Yes, something that we're already investigating and definitely documenting all the language that I can, so I can upload and do that exact thing. Once the algorithm or the theory's built. I know they're working on it right now through Google. I can't remember the specific project name, but it definitely is doing this with Sumerian and different types of pieces right now, where you can scan an artifact and highlight the language and upload it and so on and so forth. So I'm sure we're 5 years out or something like that. We probably have the technology now, but for us publicly at least,
Like, look at all of those up there, those symbols. Those are all main ones. Wow.
Yeah, and like the way the snake is, let me flip this around here. Like the scales on it are just insane.
Like, right? And just the detail of the symbology and like the representation of it all, it's too complex, and what appears to, it just can't not be authentic by what you're showing.
It's hard to argue. Okay. As soon as I seen the writing on the walls, like I said, I was a believer. Like I could have all the tests and all the pieces, but I still had question. But seeing it being uncovered 5-gallon bucket at a time and still seeing new things, like I just got new stuff out of the cave
like
today.
Is that like a gin or a djinn coming out of a shell or a pottery jar there? What's in the middle there?
Yeah, I was kind of wondering something of that nature too. It's here, let me zoom in here. I think it might be coming out of the pine cone, passing the life, maybe.
Yeah. What?
You know,
Do you see this, Hans?
it's crazy.
Hans being bathroom break. And sadly, Julia had to go. She's traveling early in the morning, and we lost her. But thank you, Julia, for partaking, and safe travels. Like, look at that. Those are like Egyptian royal seals style, no?
Mm-hmm.
Hans,
Yeah, it's even in the right sort
when Hans
of.
gets back, you're gonna have to show that.
I'll keep this thing out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, I'll show
Yes,
the bottom of
please.
this piece here in a sec. It's super
And
heavy.
that ankh again, like each one of those. Look at that.
It's got the bird guy. You can see if I can get it in the right light here.
Potentially Thoth, right?
No, I think this is Ra.
Ra. Gotcha.
But there's actually different bird guys. There's multiple of them. So, and one of them has scales like a serpent. So I don't know. I can't say any of these people are who we think they are, because a lot of ancient writings probably been meddled with. Our biggest warning in most ancient texts of most ancient religions or religions today is that we need to be on our guard about deception at the highest levels. And what are the highest levels? And that I mean, the Bible, the news, like all these things that are high level sources of information, textbooks. We got to be on guard, you know. That's the warning. That's what the books say first and foremost. So there's probably something to it. That's definitely a human pharaoh, though. It's one of the only depictions of a rabbit that I've seen. You usually see just a lot of birds, but never seen a rabbit.
And
seen the owl. Yeah.
This
thing up here.
What? Right? Some sort of technology, either headphones or a resonator. Like those symbols right there. Those ones are like part of the original language.
Yeah, I believe it's the tree of life at the top, and then the water. I'm not sure what the comb looking thing is. That little like half circle, the bottom half circle is seen all over in Egypt. And I'm not sure about the bottom one.
Seen that one as well frequently.
But I've seen it too. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of symbology. Oops, sorry guys. Can you still hear me?
Can still hear you.
Switch cameras. You're gonna have to switch cameras. My other phone died. Gotcha. That's why I brought the second screen. So now I can seamlessly transfer over, and yeah, life is good. Otherwise, you guys would be thinking the Men in Black showed up. Right? This has happened to my TikTok quite a few times, and so I'm going to start to do my TikTok live with this iPad because I don't want to get disconnected, and we'll go from there. Sorry, it's a little bit less quality. It's
no worries.
Quite caught up to the phones yet with the. Yeah, no, my phone was getting pretty hot. The new 15 just seems to overheat with that specific live stream type of deal. This almost looks like it was burned. You see, like how this was burned in there. You can see it wasn't standard carving. Yeah, and this type of language is also what's shown on the emerald tablets, are very similar to what they depict on the emerald tablets. I also have had people that have had
I saw that before.
DMT experiences as well. This sort of language often starts popping out of things.
People in like tongues and stuff, right? That what looks like that. No doubt.
It's quite the piece. I really thought it was a modern when I seen how thin, and then I got it. I'm just like, wow, this was burned or something. I've never seen anything quite like this. Oh, this iPad does pretty good.
It does indeed.
I'm okay with this.
Does that one glow? Do you know?
Yeah, all the language that's burned in there glows, but the
What
green
does
piece
that
itself
head
does not.
do?
What this?
The Eskimo looking guy. Well,
Oh,
that
this is an
is
astronaut.
beyond that too, right? Like legit.
Yeah. Yep. And that's from
That is an
Tula. That's like,
astronaut.
yeah. The detail in this piece is just crazy. I mean, it's a functional whistle. Like you look at the way the face and the symbology is on this thing, it's nothing short of a masterpiece.
Yeah, both of those are really
No
fascinating.
doubt. Right? Oh, that's some alchemy symbols on the back. Turn to the back again at the bottom. It's great. You got Mercury, Saturn, right there. On the arm, up.
There we go.
Mercury and sulfur. Sorry.
But sulfur isn't a planet.
Right?
Well, Mercury is also an alchemical symbol too. It's not just a planet.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's my joke. Sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's like Mercury.
Little dense
We
over
were nerd
here,
joking
sorry.
on that one. Right? Eskimo with snowball face, or like entity that glows coming out of it. Like,
So that's the
is
one
that
that
what
has
the
the glow,
orbs?
the glow in the bottom is that pine cone you're holding.
Yeah, where it had the water erosion and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, you can see here on the. Sorry, it's a little awkward navigating this iPad around. It's huge. This is a really interesting heart. Check this out. You can see the connections and everything on
wow.
there. And I'm telling you, when you hold this in your hand, it is something else. There's a vibe that comes off of this piece. I don't know. I don't vibe with stuff too often, but this one here is definitely vibe worthy. I don't know if it's just because it's a heart and you feel, yeah, when you're holding it, it's like Indiana Jones, the guy holding the heart, or something. It's
a Temple of Doom.
Yeah, gives you
Kalima,
that vibe.
Shaktadev. Kalima.
I'll show you something crazy. So inside of this cube here, when you look at the video on our feed, you'll see the cave, and there's a guy that looks just like this, holding his arms out to the cave that they discovered all these pieces in, or a lot of these pieces. And so inside of here is actually a mechanical latch, and this goes inside of here, and this is a key that you can see has a oops, where's it at here?
Which side goes in?
Yeah, so it would go in like this. And then if I get the key back in there correctly, I can lock it. And then it's locked in there. And this is a large pyramid. And it's shaped in the same style as the ones from Sudan. It's not like a typical one from Egypt. It's got the more square base with the pitched. Yeah, I don't want to stand it up quite right this second, but yeah, it's not your typical,
And from the research we've been doing and testing, Jeremiah has found specifically that geometry seems to
we talked about
give
that
a higher
page.
energy amplification than the standard Giza style.
Yeah, interesting.
We did a bit. True that.
It's all outside of my pay grade. Sorry.
Just kidding. Yeah, it's
right, but
it's
like
definitely
all
outside
your
of mine
experiences
too.
around the world.
What's that?
It's that I find it fascinating, Hanso, with all of your like different experiences and research into the different ancient cultures around the world and stuff. How much of this stuff that relates or is in parallel with other ancient works and artifacts and cultures that you studied and looked into?
I've seen star symbols. I mean, the ancient Vedic, engravings all have like star maps incorporated with them, which give a time period for when they possibly were created or a time that they were talking about in a lot of these scriptures and Templar structures. So to me, this is fascinating because obviously this has so much more.
Right? Like,
Yeah, it's
that's
pretty
looking,
complex geometry, you know.
that
like,
symbol
that's
there
so-
actually comes out of a book I have
Really?
actually on my shelf behind me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've seen that before too. 100%.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look at that
Obviously,
stuff.
we have no idea, the history of any of this, which is amazing.
Right, all
Yeah, it's the fun part.
Pre-cataclysm,
Mm-hmm. Well, at least the last
or
one.
shortly
Sure, there's
thereafter,
been
or
many.
shortly thereafter. Yeah.
If you go to Karnak, you'll see a picture of the alligator guy. Who was it? Zopek or something? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he's holding this exact staff of Set.
Yeah.
Sobek, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah. This guy. But it's interesting that staff was found about 30 feet from this sarcophagus here. And this sarcophagus is pretty interesting. I'll show you what's inside of it here. It's got this altar piece that you can put light through and see, It illuminates really beautifully.
Just mind-blowing, everyone. Look at that. Like, oh yeah, so look at this seal at the very bottom here, Hans. Is that an Egyptian seal that can be possibly dated or something?
It doesn't look like anything I've seen in hieroglyphics.
No.
Yeah, I haven't
Okay.
either.
The original.
I'll show you the back.
Sorry, there was the other carving that.
Oops.
We got to remember that a lot of the stuff that we see in Egypt was usurped, and so you see these giant statues, and this has a hieroglyph on it that says Ramses II, or and you look at the hieroglyph, and it's so deeply dug that nobody could ever write over it, and it oftentimes goes over another artifact on the statue, like a belt or something like this, and this is like, there's no way that whoever created this was actually the person that wrote their own name into it. And so there's a lot of usurping. A lot of it is much older. They
designed it with such perfect symmetry and spacing and whatnot, and then somehow fucked up it.
With hammer and chisel, my ass. Anyway, no chance. They had a CNC machine that could create precision. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
This stuff isn't, at that level, but close. I mean,
there's certain aspects of it that are, and then there's certain aspects that are way more primitive. Like, to get this big rock right here into a whistle, is definitely not something I've ever seen out of Egypt.
No, for sure. And a lot of this looks to me like not a master artisan, but somebody that's doing their own thing. So, do the eyes connect? They don't.
Original.
No, it's a whistle. Let me play it here for you.
I think you did earlier, but yeah, I didn't.
No, that was the small one. No, I have a small one too. You can see the. Oops, where's this at? There we go. You can see the part you played. Here's this jaguar on the back.
Sounds like music from the Andes.
Kinda.
It definitely has that vibe to it. South American vibe. Now, the one I played earlier, it's much smaller.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was the one. Correct. Yeah.
Still impressive.
Oh, absolutely.
Just the fact they get them in tune. I think that's really, you look at a flute, and obviously they make them in different sizes so they can be in different keys or tunes. And so that's, exactly what we've seen with these. This guy here, he's holding a piece of fluorite, and this is actually a functional telescope. And it has a fluorite lens here. You can see, I'll show you the boring technique that's used. But if you look through it, let me see where the camera's at on this thing. Okay. Not used to the iPad. Oops.
Oh, yeah.
And it moves up and down,
back.
backwards. And so when I move left, it's moving right. And when I move right, it's moving left, etc. Just like a normal telescope would be, which is, obviously just the curvature of the lens. But the fact that they got that curvature accurate is interesting, considering that this one here doesn't really have a noticeable magnification like this one does. This one is like maybe a 2x, or not a high magnification, but pretty interesting to say the least. The lens on this one here, I don't know if you're familiar with the Nerubi lens that came out of Saudi Arabia that they dated, I think, 4,000 years ago. It's a piece of fluorite. They say it's the first lens of magnification ever, or the oldest lens of magnification discovered. But what's interesting is you can see on this, it has an inclusion going down it. And the Nerubi lens has an inclusion almost identical in the exact same spot as this, which I find odd that they would use a piece of fluorite with that inclusion for whatever purpose in Saudi Arabia or here, Why wouldn't they use a clear one like this? Or maybe it was just hard to find?
They were burning sand on the beach one day and created glass. And oh my God, you look through the glass and there's a magnification.
Yeah, but
how do we make that magnification more perfect? More fire, more sand.
Joseph Farrell and Walter Bosley were talking about it earlier. Phase conjugation could be the reason for that in the lens effect. Potentially.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, exactly. But where does that come from? Just pure experimentation, or?
Yeah, that's my question. Is like how?
Yeah, just showing more advanced knowledge, and technology.
I mean, even an advanced civilization would have to have stumbled upon this at some point, right?
You would think
it's not coming out of
if they're moving around.
All of a sudden today, I invented Japanese eye drops. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It would be trial and error, and so obviously we're discrediting our own past by saying that we didn't go through this trial and error. Maybe we did, and maybe our history is much older than we think it is.
Yeah. Well, if that Sumerian King's List is somewhat accurate or has some sort of merit, then that's definitely what we're looking at, probably.
Oh, a forgotten civilization, forgotten technologies. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we say, oh, the ancients didn't have technology, but every time we go to one of these ancient sites, God damn it, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Magical scepter.
Yeah, what's really interesting is it's a ball on the end, and there's a couple depictions that I have of Thoth or Anubis actually holding this bald mallet and then a tuning fork looking thing. That's kind of interesting. I'm gonna try to log my phone back in here so we can have a little better. Actually, it's about dead, so that's not going to work. But yeah, a lot of questions to be answered. I can't wait to finally get the thermoluminescence lab that we have now in Colorado is going to do a fair amount of testing. I don't have a lot of ceramic pieces. I maybe have 6, so it's not going to give us a ton of information, but it should be enough to at least conclude
And
on
all
the
these look like they've
sphere.
been cleaned, so there's no accuracy that you could get from any of the grit based on the cleaning solvents. So yeah.
On which pieces?
Oh, all of them look like they've been cleaned.
No.
Yeah.
Well, with water.
Not. He's saying, but like the Mexican people that like dug them out of the ground, right? Like washed them. Some of them.
Yeah, they washed
They
them
use
out.
water
So,
only.
Only
no
water.
solvents.
We don't have accuracy on that.
I do actually. It's all been documented and filmed. We've got a 4.5-hour documentary out that shows start to finish of exactly how they're pulling them out and what they're doing to clean them.
Oh, interesting. All right.
And as well as carbon dates and organic material that was collected and sent off for, they have on the organic material found in the holes in Tula about 12 to 1800 years. So it's not as old as the pieces are coming back with on the adhesives or the thermoluminescent dates that have been done. However, that doesn't mean anything because these pieces could have been something that were, like we have our museums today of antiquities. The Toltecs could have had these around the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, 12 to 1500 years ago before, something happened to where they aren't there. So the weeds and the organic material may not be as old as the pieces,
Yeah,
it's just
right.
where the pieces landed.
There was a cataclysm potentially only 1200 or 1400 years ago that was what buried it and covered it with these layers of mud, soil, and dirt potentially.
Yeah, and I mean, when we look at the pieces that the INAA have collected from Tula, that's also the carbon dates that you'll see on their pieces as well. Regardless if it's 12 to 1800 years or 10,000 years, it's just like the Nazca mummies coming back at 1800 years. What was going on 1800 years ago where we have aliens in South America and Mexico,
Right. So the Hans, that brings up the Dropa stones, and were they? Oh no, they were 18,000, not 1800. Correct.
Well, no, there's a question of that, and so in the Dropa lore and legend, they arrived here 12,000 years ago. The stones possibly are from 1040 AD, and that to me is an interesting factor because what's written on the stones, well, this is a bi-disc. So what's written on the stones is not an alien language. It's from a local tribe that witnessed the event. Here these craft came down from the clouds. We hid in the caves 12 times before sunrise, and this culture had come once before. And so in 1040 AD, if there was recognition that they had come before or somebody of their ilk of sorts over the course of history, spoken language, written language, whatever, then yeah. And in the Dropa history, lore, and legend timeline, they did come 12,000 years ago. So 1050, 80 after the last cataclysm, they arrived.
Interesting.
They got into a struggle. They intermixed with the human population, creating a hybrid, and they left. And realizing this, the scientists sent back a craft that arrived in 1040 AD to find this hybrid race, and they realized, oh my God, the humans are no longer primitive because we had just come out of the last ice age. I'm pretty sure we were fairly advanced before that time, but because of the ice age and Holocene comet event, we were set back quite a lot, and most of humanity was set back. That's fascinating. But so that's the Dropa timeline, these two events. And so I'm not sure how old the stones really are. They could be massively ancient or they could be more recent.
Yeah. Yep.
Is one from when they first came and one from when they came back?
Correct, yeah.
And I find it
question. Only one of the stones of the 716 in any of the recorded history of this had any writing on it. So that's one stone.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And they were all slated to be jadeite. This piece I have here, this is pretty old technology. The writing on it is Proto-Chinese. This is a piece of red jade, right? It's not very, very thick. This is called a bidisc. But even the bidiscs are of mystery.
Hold that up a little bit more to the
we
right.
don't really know the history of bidiscs. And
sorry,
you will find
Hans, do you mind holding that up to the light to the
Sorry.
camera a little bit more, please? Just so we can see the inscriptions. Like,
Oh yeah.
look at how almost Rongo-ish language.
Yeah, this is old. This is Proto-Chinese. It still is what's considered like a Chinese glyph, but this predates any of the Mandarin Mandarin and Cantonese language that China now speaks.
Some of the symbols almost look similar to some of the ones Mike has shown in them a little bit.
Well, a little bit, yeah. There's a lot of that old aspect.
Just in the amount of geometry and detail
of the story of the date too, of what the story the Dropa tells that you just recited, Hans, and then the images that are depicted on all of Mike's artifacts that if they are verified, just
would they only have shown up at one area of the world? Of course not. They would have sent out exploration vehicles across the globe. 12,000 years ago, they were looking for water, air, mineral, plant life deposits to see if they were compatible with their system. Even though our sun and our gravity is very different than Sirius and their gravity, there was a homogeneous sympathy between these two systems. And when they discovered the primitive humans, they're like, oh my God, these people have a genetic similarity to ourselves. And this is why I was talking about, earlier in the show, the phantom DNA technique, right? Or the phantom DNA science, because if we're going through the same pattern of the universe or our solar system that other planetary systems like Sirius or Arcturus or whatever are going through, they're going to have genetic cousins to ourselves if they're a water-bearing planet in their system, and their sun, based on its, frequency, is going to create a life form very similar to ourselves. And so, of course, we have genetic cousins. My God, the James Webb telescope recently has discovered in, one frame, 1,000 by 1,000 pixels, 15,000 plus galaxies. It's like,
new galaxies. Yeah. Like,
what?
That's a very good point.
What are we even looking at? And how many planetary systems in those galaxies have life? Right. So,
and the fact with that phantom, what was it called? Phantom DNA test?
Phantom DNA, yeah, scientific.
Yeah. That it was proved this quantum entanglement and like quantum communication of cellular interactions.
Tissue. Yeah.
Yeah, tissue, right? That then if the story that is being depicted on these artifacts that is documented in the Dropa stones, as well as the Old Testament of the Nephilim or whatever breeding with the humans or whatnot, Genesis. Yeah, sorry. That's all documenting the exact same creation story and.
Well, we're always told this interesting story of evolution. Oh, we evolved from apes, did we? How come they never evolved? To me, that's always been an interesting question. If we evolved from them, why didn't they evolve?
Well,
are we unique to this experience? I mean, look at how we're communicating with ourselves. We've discovered a way to lensify our reality through a microscopic microphone camera system and project this across the world. What other species on this planet does this? None. Are we from here? Or are we just, the species that reach the top of the crop? I mean, these are the two questions that we need to really ask ourselves. Are we really from here, or is there something else going on? And so we wake up in the morning, we open our eyes, we take our first breath, and we see the sunlight, and we're like, oh, this is magic. But all this other stuff, this glass, receptacle, this weird cube device we call our cell phones, my mouse, the whole 9 yards. It's like, what is all this? How did why we're destroying nature to create our own reality? And to me, that's very weird. And this kind of gets back into the whole conversation on water that we were getting into earlier, where all of our piping systems are square angles, right? Well, nature doesn't have square angles. Nature is fluid, and it flows and eaves and flows. And so structured water comes directly out of nature, in a sense. Yeah, that's
absolutely. And primary water. And
for sure. And so
now,
if you can create vortexional water, you have a structured water. You can even create it through breath. So I did a huge, breath ceremony when I was doing my water cleanse. And if you're deep into breath, you can channel your water and create a structured water form. And it's proven if you look at it under microscopic aspects. Kind of like what what's his name? The guy that did this Japanese gentleman. Why am I spacing on his name?
Matsumoto.
Yeah, thank you, Matsumoto. And so he would project thoughts into jars of water, kind of like your Armis jars in a sense, and then he would freeze them to get a crystalline form. And depending on the thought pattern, it would change the form of the water. And to me, that was beyond fascinating. I've always been fascinated with that. And it doesn't matter where you live. I was saying earlier, we have this Bull Run Reservoir. Well, they've started to rechannel that, so it's all square structure water now. And so we're messing with our water again. And we all take water for granted. It comes out of the tap, we can drink it, it's clean. But this is all dead water, folks. And we really need to find a way to restructure water. And so there are machines out there. There are filtration systems. Multi-Pure is an amazing filtration system. Kangen water, a lot of you have heard of this or not. Some people are against it because the water goes across an electrical channel on a electrical plate. But this is a way of structuring water, and it's the most amazing water I've ever drunk in my life.
It's electrolysis.
You can change the pH.
My Alchemist.
What's that?
Yeah. It's electrolysis, the exact alchemy that I do. So 100%.
Everybody I know that's used Kangen or any of these machines, very similar, just like, you can't go back to regular water. And think about it, man. We buy a lot of our water in plastic bottles. Well, why are we doing this? You go to Costco or places like this, and you buy pallets of this shit, and it's all in a plastic bottle, and it's just leaching this plastic chemical into your water source. I don't care if it says 9.5 on the side of it. You're drinking a plastic water, and there's no way around that. So Please, people, look into really good filtration and structured water systems. Try and recreate natural water.
Yep.
It's huge. It's something we really need to do.
I agree. Yeah, there's nothing like Fiji or Mountain Valley because they're untapped and not touched. In terms of they have all the original
street spring water.
You're still buying Fiji in a plastic bottle. It's like if we
Mountain Valley's in glass.
They tainted a bit that way.
Personally, but
sorry, Mountain Valley. What was that?
Mountain Valley. Yeah, it comes in a glass bottle only.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
There's some out of Sweden that do it as well, and it's just like, thank goodness we have.
Hey, Burn, can you
it
switch
costs
to
a
my
little
other
bit more,
phone
but
in the
man,
back
spend the money. This is your life. Water is life, right?
Oh, I agree. No, the hydration. I lived in a city where the Air Force had polluted with a bunch of bad chemicals, and it was absolutely awful.
I mean, as I keep saying, I'm very fortunate where I live here in Oregon. We have Bull Run, but in the last 5 years, they've started tampering with this because they realize that they can, go after Reagan's dream of chlorination and fluoridation of water, and it's just like, why can't we just have the natural Bull Run that we used to have? Why?
And you guys are right
I live near
downstream
Mount
from
Tabor.
Hanford.
Mount Tabor has 4 reservoirs. They're all empty. They don't use them anymore. It's like, what the fuck? Pardon my French. Why are they not using these water reservoirs? Well, because they're rechanneling the system through new underground cisterns that they've built, and it's sad. It's like, we have this amazing water. Why can't we utilize it? Yeah.
Because they have to poison us, right? That's
Of course, it's part of their agenda. And it's interesting that, in the past there was a book that came out called 3 Days with the Condor, 7 Days with the Condor. They made it into a movie called The Condor with Robert Redford, and he's an analyst, and he goes through magazines and news sources to find code, because that's how they used to, cipher codes in the old days of espionage and détente, whatever we want to call it, collaboration or disinformation. And he deciphers this code about future wars, which will be about resources, but primarily around water. And this is coming out of the 60s and the 70s, and we're right here now. We're having this conflict with water. I mean, half of what went on in Maui recently was, a dysfunction
holding back
water. I lived on Maui for almost 2 years, and Maui is one of the driest counties in the United States and the world. And you're like, how is that possible? It's an island in the middle of the Pacific. It's like, yeah, but you got the sun beaming on the water and beaming on this island all day long. You're going to get this refraction, situation that's going to cause issues, regardless of where you are. And so every year that I lived there, it burned, and there's a lot of controversy around what happened, and I won't go there because I'm politically homeless and I don't really want to cause controversy. And I have a lot of friends that live there, but it's just like, oh my God, there's so much of interest there because we take things for granted. It's like, oh, you're a tropical island. Yeah, but you're not. I grew up in South Asia in the tropics, and even though you're in a tropical region, my God, half of the year it's drought and it's dry, as you can imagine, until the monsoon comes and hits, and holy shit, all of a sudden it changes, and all of a sudden you're 3 feet of water downtown Kathmandu that wasn't there ever before, and there's nowhere for it to drain off. But this happened in like the course of an hour and a half. So yeah,
that bone skull thing even blows. Sorry,
what's that?
Even inside of it.
Even inside of that thing, the bone, whether it's a skull or whatever it is,
it's a skull. There's
covered
suture lines and a cranial
stuff.
cavity. We know it's a skull, just not what it was from.
Fair. I find it fascinating too that it's triggers like a little bit of red and blue sometimes to start, and then it continues glowing green.
That's its UV light. That's the light he's using.
Yeah, this is the light on. You'll see the red sometimes there.
Yeah, no,
but that's not on this.
UV
this is
trigger.
a phosphorescence here. This turns
this
red.
guy.
This isn't the light.
Look at that.
Interesting.
That's like
I had one other artifact to show here, but I correct soligrams. So you go way up into the Himalayas that are, you're up at like 14,000 feet, and there's a riverbed, and there's all these black stones in the riverbed. And I collected hundreds of these, and you'd go back to your hotel and you'd throw them in the fireplace of the hotel.
So again.
So it's this black, it's like hardened sandstone and whatnot. And you throw it in the fire in the hotel or the lodge you're staying in. And then you pull it out of the fire when it's red hot, and you throw it in water, and they crack in half. And sometimes they produce, these ancient soligrams, these ancient fossils. Basically, this is an ancient fossil from Nepal.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Right on.
super amazing. But this one is even more amazing because you often see this online as, oh, this is an ancient screw, tucked into a rock and whatnot. And so no, it's actually a 4 million year old worm that has iron pyrite all around it, and it looks like a screw, but it fits into this rock quite perfectly. And so I've had this since I was like 8-9 years old, because this is one of the ones that I found. Our porters hated us because I brought back like 500 kilos of rocks. And I gave most of them away, but I kept this one because this was the most prolific, as well as this one. But these are natural artifacts, and what you're showing us here are also ancient artifacts. And so the question is, what is the lineage? What is the culture? Was it a global culture? I've always thought that Atlantean culture was a global culture, just like we are today. And we are now rediscovering the two-eye stone that we possibly could destroy ourselves with. Is this the fracturing of the atom? What is an atom? Well, atomic weaponry is the fracturing of a crystal. And so here we are. This is the two-eye stone. We're breaking the stone apart. This is the dark crystal. Thank goodness for Jim Henson coming up with that whole series. My God, the dark crystal is so amazing.
Right? Wow!
The original movie, and then
that.
The
Is that
what's that?
Transtemporal portal right there opening up that guy's coming through? Sorry, to cut you off.
So.
Hans,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Look up here.
Like portals and stuff. It's depicting the same as the Klaus Donner ones.
Oh, the sun is the eye, right? It's always called Ra, but as we discussed, it has 5 different phases. Ra would be the most adolescent. So this is Aten, and so Aten would be the time of day that you would have a portal coming from a sun to a sun.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? We see this soft disclosure in Stargate, the TV series, Speaking of water, there's so many water quotes from Stargate. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? We're going to have to go and do a couple episodes just on the truth in fiction series Soft Disclosure, especially one on Stargate, because
the river tells no lies, but the man standing on its shore in denial hears them all, right? My favorite is from, I think it's Basho in Japan. If you sit by a river long enough, you will watch the body of your enemy float by. Well, you are your true enemy. And so if you're sitting by a river which is constantly flowing, but you're in stagnation, then of course you're going to watch your own death. And to me, that's fascinating because, again, back to this dead water that we drink out of our faucet every day. We're kind of predicting that. It's like, I don't know why I'm feeling bad. Well, God, what is the water system that you're drinking?
You're drinking
I buy this bottled water from so-and-so, and it's like, do you really know the source? You were mentioning Fiji water before. Fiji water is great, but if you've ever been to Fiji, it's like the tap water that comes out of the tap.
Yeah, of course.
But it's amazing because it comes out of a natural source, kind of like Arrowhead or any of these other, companies that we buy from. But again, you're drinking this out of a plastic bottle, and so if we can find ways to
have
avoid,
to taint it.
we have
gotta
to
say,
so sorry.
So one time I left like a 3/4 full plastic bottle of Fiji water in my minus 30 Celsius degree truck overnight. And when I came out in the morning, I grabbed it and it was still liquid. And then as soon as I shook it, it just crystallized and turned solid instantly into ice. And it was just like, wow, like that was actually still like structured water enough to be able to resist freezing minus 30 until it was disturbed. Just blew my mind.
Well, it creates a hexagonal shape in the vortex, and the hexagon is one of the most strongest shapes. And I often give this, it's kind of a weird depiction, but I will draw a spiral and then I will enclose it in a triangle. And this is God, God, right? Governance, observance, defense. And so you're governing over the body, you're observing it, and you're defending it from the outside in. And how do you break this triangular structure? Well, with a hexagon, of course. And so a lot of these strikes and riots and whatnot are always chaotic, but they're always enforced by, the men in blue trying to basically cut off all angles of movement. And so everybody's doing it wrong. It's a geometric spiritual war, not a physical war. or that matter, a strike or whatnot. And so I've always, it's always about geometrics. And so here we are looking at ancient geometrics. This is fascinating.
I couldn't agree more. And just how advanced the knowledge is, but that it's the technology and knowledge and of creation itself,
technology. Knowledge is in technology,
right? So it's like it's this eternal, infinite, like galactic or universal science, knowledge, technology, information that is also metaphysical, because of course consciousness, life, spirit, soul is a part of this existence and reality. And in the Western society and world right now, there's this disconnect and intentional like dogma and misdirection coming to that, and that the ancients weren't missing that and had it all, it seems.
They had a plasmic, fluid reality. We don't have that today because our technology really suppresses our ability to be plasmic. We still have fluidity, but we're not plasmic. And I think, a lot of what's talked about in ancient times, they had telepathy, whatnot, between each other. You find this in sacred plant medicines like ayahuasca. If you go into an ayahuasca session with a good practitioner, you will have a telepathic adventure with people around you. You will feel into their heart. You will feel into their mind, and you will all of a sudden communicate with them without even opening your mouth. And so this is plasmic technology. You're having, like we discussed on the last show, you touch your little plasmic vortex there to your stage right, your left, Bernie, and it knows where you're at, and it all of a sudden, you feel it, and it comes to your space. So this is, the demon or daemon in the ether. This is what Joseph Farrell was talking about. If you put plasmic, vortex energy inside of the pyramid, and you're pulsing it, my God, you have a living entity. This is huge. And it's creating a chemical reaction. Tesla was onto this as well,
Yep.
Full on. He knew what was going on. He realized that the pyramids were, plasmatic vortexes. What was the Warden Cliff Tower experiment? He wanted to create a plasmic field that everybody could tap into with technology. Well, this is a living entity, Yep. In a sense, it's the Akashic records. It's people like, oh, they're going to find this, Akashic chamber around the Great Pyramid that has, all of the world's knowledge and whatnot, right? And it's like, no, you fools. The pyramid is that. It has everything embedded in its technology if you just know what to look for.
I agree. The entire Bible's wrote inside the pyramid by its structure, like that.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
It is a hall of records, quite literally. It doesn't need to be written. It's right there in its mathematics, and math is the ultimate language. It's not English. It's not Arabic. It's not, Germanic. It's not Hindu. It's math. It is the ultimate language.
It's the law.
Yeah.
That we
English
live by.
is just spellcasting. If we were, we were talking about this earlier.
Well, the last episode, absolutely.
You're totally right, though, about the telepathy. And I think that with ayahuasca, as you were saying, it enhances this to the point where we can really start to manipulate it. But I think that, like, when you're walking through the airport and there's people walking straight at you with their luggage and their 3 kids,
Oh,
actually
they're
having
non-player
telepathy.
characters, 100-fold. Yeah.
Yeah, people know where to walk, based off of the same intuition. It's just not intense on our day to day.
I wish Julia was still on. She had to dash and do something, but we were in Vegas together recently. I've never been to Vegas before, but I've been around a lot of casino cultures living in South Asia, and being in Vegas was interesting to me. And a friend of mine took me out on my birthday, and I was standing in the middle of the casino, and I was just lost. I'm staring at the floor to ceiling neon lights and people laughing about losing money. And my friend looks at me and she's like, what's going on? And I said, my God, none of these people are real. They're all non-player characters. It was such a bizarre. I felt no energy, no reality of anybody that I was standing around. It was bizarre. It was very bizarre.
Clocked out.
Yeah, very much. Oh, I just lost 20,000. I just lost my whole life inheritance. Let's bet some more on the craps table. It's just like, wait, what?
Just zombified, right? Like, now that
I know they pump oxygen through the casinos to get everybody high as fuck. I know that. I smelt that when I was in the Bellagio. It was they had some sort of fragrance in the air. It was weird. But none of the other casinos I went into were like that. And I mean, I don't gamble. I'm not stupid and foolish. There's a reason why you go to the casinos and the casinos don't come to you.
I actually use these scents in my house. You can buy these scents now and put them in your house through your HVAC system. It's next level, man.
Why?
Well, I don't use the
even the Glade plugins. You're just you're just
some of these hotels
chemicals.
like
What are you thinking?
down in Florida, over in Paris, they have scents that were specifically crafted by people, and I mean they're the most aromatherapeutic scents I've ever come across. I really enjoy
like
it.
actual esters.
Are you down in Florida? I think you know a friend of mine.
No, I've traveled down there quite a few times. And that's how I found out about these. The hotel we were staying at, I've never smelled anything like it. I had to know what the heck it was.
I don't want to be around that because again, you're huffing fake air. And why? What are they programming you with? I mean, what's Disney's main line is capturing the imagination or your imagination. Well, why can't I have my own? Damn it! Why are you capturing it? Yeah. Oof.
Very
true. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Is that obviously a double piece?
Well, no, it's a hinged jaw, actually. You can see the hinge here.
Yeah, it's a double piece, but that's amazing.
Yeah. The fact you can position it in so many ways with it still standing up is crazy to me, too.
So this is the same with the Mitchell Hedges skull. The Mitchell Hedges skull has a jaw piece that is also.
I have one like that as well, a crystal one, not down here currently, but it has the same type of deal. The eyes on mine actually are inlaid, however, and there's an adhesive, so we're going to be able to carbon date it, which is really exciting because most crystal skulls can't be dated,
Yeah.
Like this guy, who knows?
Well, you can't date stone, and this has always been.
Yeah.
This stone is 12,000 years old. How do you know? You can't date it.
Some of these crystal skulls are just amazing, though.
Right? Wow.
I wonder what they're using to blacken it. Yeah, they're adding some sort of.
Well, it's dirt.
It's soot.
It's not been fully cleaned.
Creosote, probably. An oily resin from the fire. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Just mind-blowing collection. Every single time. I imagine it's the same for you every time you walk into the room.
Every morning I wake up, man, it's hard to believe, that I'm even involved with such a thing. This is definitely left field for me. I'm a business owner up here, cannabis community. It's not what I expected to be doing at 40, but
Here you are.
Yep, I'm writing a book about it. So we're sent it off to the editors, and Scott Wolter is going to write my foreword. So I'm really looking forward to getting that out there.
Scott's super cool. I met him at Conscious Life Expo, and
he's really great people. I'm so glad to be working with him.
He is absolutely phenomenal in this community and groundbreaking and connecting real geology and archaeology together. And America on Earth is a heck of a series.
Yeah,
and
he has
we
a book
are
coming out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just saying, we're at 2 hours 15 minutes. It's getting late, and I have to run to pick up the wife, and it's a blizzard in Canada right now, so I cannot leave her out in the cold as she's closing the bar. And my apologies, Hans, we didn't really get to cover.
We're all good. We covered some of it in the side column. It's all good.
But we will do a full episode on it for episode 7. Seventh heaven will go full into water.
I'll be 7 foot. I was laughing at that 6 foot. Oh no, episode 6 featuring. It was how it folded and what you sent me. I'm like 6 foot. I'm only 5'10". What are you talking about, man?
Forgot about that, buddy.
I don't wear lifts. I swear.
Go get your lady, man. It's been
seriously.
Great. We'll do this again soon.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time, guys. This is amazing.
Mr. Mike. Absolutely. Hans as well. And I did post both of your links in the live chat. We have megamist.com for Hans and aliencarvings.com for Mike's
Come
work.
learn about Peru, Egypt, and Dropa stones. Megamist.com. Awesome. Appreciate it, Bernie. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
It all and both of you, and we'll be back hopefully again next week. And Hans, before you go, just to let you know, I was talking with Walter Bosley earlier tonight, and could be next Wednesday or Friday that he's available for the stream, so I'll get that figured out. And
definitely let me know. Yeah, I reached out to him on Facebook and was very appreciative of one of his last casts about the Kam people, because I talk about the Kam Tibetans in my Dropa book. So yeah, super fascinated with what he had to say about that. So awesome. I love Walter's work. His work is epic, and it would be amazing to be on the cast with him. So appreciate it.
100%. We will get it done, and Mike will have to do another episode this week, and also get the updates with the Peruvian mummies and all the rest. And thank you, sir. Yeah. And anyone interested, Mike does sell some of the pieces, but the vast majority, they're priceless. So I wouldn't part with them either, but might be able to grab something if you want it.
I'll have to show off some of my swords at some point. I got some ancient swords, but yeah.
Go buy Hans's books too, because I got to do that. So I'll lead by example, and love you all. See you on the next one.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you can find my book.
Sorry, no, I'm link from his website.